Hello, you are welcome back to Tuntum Network. My name is Cyrus and I'm happy to have you here. Please remember to subscribe if you find this content relevant. In today's episode, I'm responding to a request by many of my subscribers on comparing the capital of Ghana with the capital of Nigeria. This is because I did a recent episode on the new light rail train that is making waves all over Africa in Nigeria, Lagos. And as a result of the commentary that I gave on it with a little comparison to what we have in Ghana, a lot of my subscribers have encouraged me to look into the comparison between the capital of Ghana, which is Accra, and the capital of Nigeria, which is Abuja. So that's what we are doing today. And you know that my comparison is objective and I give credit when it's due. I am a Ghanaian and certainly will love Accra to win, but that could be a very wishful thinking, especially in the face of fact. So I decided to do a little research looking at main fact, tangible fact, to put them side by side and look at which capital city is actually doing well. This is not going to be the regular comparison a lot of people are doing on social media. So let's get into it. You see, the statement in itself, Accra and Abuja, is competitive. This is what I mean. Accra is the capital of a small country with a small population, whereas Abuja is the capital of a big country with a large population. So you have to put all these into perspective. And this is how you put the two into proper perspective. You see, Ghana in itself is home to 32 million people and has about 2.6 million people living in the capital, Accra. Meanwhile, Nigeria is home to 223 million people and has 3.6 million people living in the capital, Abuja. When you have these figures side by side, it sort of gives you understanding into the dynamics of the whole country and not just the capital cities. You will therefore agree with me that being a leader of a big population is quite different from being a leader of a small population. And the same thing applies to being a member of a small population is significantly different from being a member of a big population. So the difference in the two population sizes is part of the comparison. But I just want to move that out of the way so that I can focus on the 5 key yardsticks that I'm going to use to make a decisive decision on which city is actually leading. These are the 5 yardsticks. So let's begin with the first one, the level of development. Development is based on many things which include industrialization, infrastructure, income levels, how organized the cities are, and so on. So keep all these in mind. So I started by first looking at the top 10 most developed cities in Africa. And guess what? None of these 2 cities is on the list. So I moved away from there and looked at the top 10 richest cities in Africa. And surprisingly, Accra is put at number 10 in most of the websites, and Abuja is not. Meanwhile, Lagos is number 4 on that same list. So that gives Accra an edge in that comparison. So I decided to look at key social necessities such as industries, hospitals, universities, accommodations, roads, bridges, and trains. And this is what I found. In terms of industries, these are the biggest manufacturing companies in Abuja and in Accra side by side. The saddest reality that hit me after doing this research is, on the list of Accra's biggest manufacturing companies are only 2 that is Ghanaian owned. Under education, this is what I found. The best university in Abuja is University of Abuja. And the best university of Accra is University of Ghana. But guess what? If you look at the top 10 universities in Africa, you don't find the University of Abuja on the list. But Ghana finds its way somewhere on the 9th or on the 7th, according to whichever website you take a look at. So I didn't want to stop there. I took a look at the best public senior high school in Nigeria compared to the best public senior high school in Ghana. And surprisingly, again, there isn't one best public senior high school coming from Abuja on the list. I may be wrong. I may be looking at the wrong website. But if you compare that to what we have in Accra, at least you have about 5 best public senior high schools in Ghana coming from Accra. But this is what I learned about the education system in Abuja compared to what we have in Accra. Rich people in Abuja prefer putting their kids in a private secondary school in Abuja, as compared to rich people in Accra prefer putting their kids in the best senior secondary schools, which are public senior secondary schools in Accra. And the other addition to this is senior high school education in Ghana is free, whereas senior high school education in Abuja is not free. So on that point again, Accra takes the edge. Then we go to hospitals and healthcare. Accra and the rest of Ghana has a national healthcare insurance scheme which caters for all those that are enrolled on it. This is what it offers you: outpatient care, comprehensive maternity care, diagnostic testing, generic medicines, and emergency care. Meanwhile, in Abuja, there is a national health insurance scheme like what we have in Ghana, but these are the things that it caters for: an outpatient care, including necessary consumables, prescribed drugs, pharmaceutical care, and diagnostic tests. So if you compare it side by side with what we have in Accra in our healthcare system and what you have in Abuja in your healthcare system, Accra again on this point take an edge. Then again, under the same umbrella hospitals, I looked at the top 5 hospitals in Abuja, and these made the list: Lemi Hospital, Nizamiye Hospital, Kalina Hospital, Maitama General Hospital, National Hospital, Abuja, which is quite small in size compared to what we have in Ghana. But remember, I'm focusing on government-owned hospitals, not private hospitals. If you bring private hospitals into it, the whole thing is blown out and it becomes even more difficult to conclude on any specifics. Then I looked at the top 5 hospitals in Accra, and this is the list: Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Rage Hospital, 37 Military Hospital, Legon Hospital, Tema Hospital, and so on. And these are all public hospitals. And if you compare the infrastructure of these hospitals to what they have in Nigeria, again, on this topic of healthcare and hospitals, Accra takes the edge. Then we move on to infrastructure. So I did a Google search on which city has more skyscrapers, Abuja and Accra, and the answer was clear. Abuja has more skyscrapers than Accra. Abuja has a light rail, Ghana doesn't. Both have one international airport, even though Ghana's international airport may be more beautiful than what they have in Abuja. In terms of sports stadiums, Abiola Stadium is more modern and more beautiful than the Accra Sports Stadium in Accra. But remember, Abuja is a landlocked capital city, whereas Accra has a seaport. But Abuja is wider and has more interconnecting roads and railways, which Accra doesn't. So in terms of infrastructure, Abuja wins on this one. So on the list of criteria again, we move on to the next one, which is the level of relevance in international politics. Well, Ghana and Nigeria are both relevant in the sub-region in terms of international politics, but Nigeria is more relevant than Ghana because of their size, their population, and their GDP. Abuja again is more relevant due to the wider coverage of Nigerian movie and music industry. Both cities have the seat of government. Abuja has Aso Rock and Ghana has the Jubilee House. But the Aso Rock is more relevant in international politics for obvious reasons compared to the Jubilee House in Accra. However, the Black Star Square in Accra is also notable for international politics and the history of black independence. And in addition to all this is the numerous Nigerian immigrants to most countries in the world as compared to immigrants from Ghana. So in terms of relevance, popularity, international politics, Abuja takes the edge. Next on the criteria is cost of living. I have done a podcast comparing Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, and their economies. So I will recommend that you look at that also. Ghana and Nigeria has identical minimum wages. However, the cost of living in Nigeria is significantly better than living in Ghana. As a matter of fact, prices of goods and services on any metric is substantially higher in Ghana as compared to Nigeria. For instance, if you go on livingcost.org, they have a research that Abuja is 27% less expensive than Accra, even though their minimum wages are identical. They actually rank Accra with a score of 8411 as compared to Nigeria with a score of 6805, which clearly shows how more expensive it is to live in Accra as compared to living in Abuja. So I compared prices of food and transportation. But one thing that was totally clear to me was the prices of their petrol at the pump. A gallon of petrol in Nigeria is 2,335 naira, which is about 35.6 Ghana cedis, whereas a gallon of petrol in Ghana is 52 Ghana cedis. So clearly, transportation cost and food will be affected in Accra, making it more expensive to live here. So on that score, again, Abuja takes the edge. Then I move to the next item on the list, which is security. And without question, Accra is way more safer than in Abuja. How did I come to this conclusion? Well, I went to numbeo.com for their ratings according to Crime and Safety Index. This is the data they have. This is Abuja's score on Crime Index, 56.13, and Safety Index, 43.87. And this is what Accra scores in Crime Index, 44.17. Remember, the lower your Crime Index is, the more safer that place is. And then on safety index for Accra, Accra scored 55.83. And again, remember, the higher your safety index is for your city, the more safer it is for people to live in there. But I didn't want to stop there, so I took a step at looking at one key indicator, which is electricity supply. And this is what I found. Let me read that to you. In most cases, according to where you live in Abuja, the maximum available light on time you may get in a day is 22 hours. Meaning on a regular day, you may have between 2 to 4 hours of no light in Abuja, depending on exactly where you live. However, in Accra, we have light uninterrupted 24 hours in a day. So on the criteria of safety, Accra takes the edge. Then we come to the final criteria, which is potential of the city. I looked at the ease of doing business. I looked at the Wall Street Journal, published in 2023, rankings of nations according to the ease of doing business for 190 countries out of the 195 countries in the world. On the top of the African list, which is the African country with the most ease of doing business or setting up a business, is Mauritius. And on the bottom of the African list is Somalia. Ghana is 120th on the world rankings and 15th place in Africa, whereas Nigeria ranks 145th place in the world rankings and 23rd in Africa. But that was still not satisfactory to me enough. So I took a step further to look at which states in these two different countries would companies within those same countries like to set up their companies. And the overwhelming answer on the internet is this. Most companies in Nigeria would want to set up their companies or their headquarters in Lagos rather than the capital. Whereas in Ghana, most companies will prefer to set up their companies or their headquarters in Accra. However, the potential of doing business in these two different cities is quite different looking at the population sizes. But all in all, the information I found on the internet is this. Most people prefer doing business in Accra due to higher prices of goods and services as compared to doing business in Nigeria-Abuja. And so on the point of potential of these two cities, Accra takes the edge. And now this is my ultimate conclusion. Abuja wins in population size and land size, overall infrastructure and development. Abuja is more politically relevant than Accra and has a better cost of living. Accra wins in education, healthcare, safety, and ease of doing business. At the end of the day, as a business owner or as an organization, you would consider all these things in these two different capital cities in order to determine which place to situate your company or your company headquarters. Finally, I'll add this to it. Ghana and Nigeria, as a matter of fact, has more in common than in difference. And so at any point in time, it is in our own interest that these two countries are able to trade and do business with one another than to compete. This is a healthy one I did just to let people know we can all improve in certain areas in our beloved cities. And so we shouldn't take it outside of these contexts and create an unnecessary rivalry out of this. Thank you so much for being a part of my podcast. Please remember to subscribe if you find this content relevant, and please help us share so that we can spread the gospel to as many people as possible. Until I come your way again, God bless you, and it's bye-bye for now.